Hey, this is John Oliva, and you are tuned in to Focus on Metal. So focus deeply.
Hey, Metalheads, Scott Thompson here, welcoming you to episode 580 of that, which we call Focus on Metal. So remember that number 580. We'll get back to that in a little bit, but before we get into anything else, I just want to cover a few pretty important things. So first off, if you don't know, our buddy Brian Heaton, who is a longtime Focus on Metal contributor, is preparing to put out his second book on Queensryche. It is called Roads to Madness. It's the touring history of Queensryche, and it's due out in the spring. But the reason I'm telling you about it now is you have an opportunity to pre-order it way ahead of time. There's 3 different versions of it available, and just like his prior book, Building an Empire, the story of Queensryche, you can head up to NW Metalworks Music, and that's Metalworks as in WORX Music. So nwmetalworksmusic.com. And when you get up there, you can see in the left-hand pane books by NW Metalworks Music. And at the top of that, you'll see pre-order links for Roads to Madness. And hey, while you're there, another cool book that is available up there for pre-order right now. Not to take away from Brian, because Brian's stuff is pretty damn awesome, but there's also a book up there available for pre-order called Beyond the Black, the story of Metal Church. So another Pacific Northwest band book up there. And of course, that is what NW stands for, is for the Pacific Northwest. So again, head up to nwmetalworksmusic.com and again, go to the books, check that out, and be sure to pre-order Brian's brand new book on the touring history of Queensryche. And having said all that, when I do the show notes for this episode, I will attempt to remember to put a link on the show notes up at focusonmetalpod.com. That'll make it a hell of a lot easier. Just go up there. You can click the link. It'll take you right over to nwmetalworksmusic.com, assuming I remember to do it. And yeah, just as I just mentioned it, we do actually have a website. And every episode that I have put up on the server, which is hundreds of them, it's not all 580, but there's quite a shitload of them up there. You can go to, like I said, focusonmetalpod.com and peruse at your will. Obviously, the newest episodes, they're just right there under the latest news. And we're hoping to have Brian on at some point in the next few weeks. Richie's trying to set that up with him right now to go through all about the book and what's going on and all that good stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to get that together as well, because Brian is super busy and it is tough to get him on. That's why, even though he's been a long-time contributor to Focus on Metal, behind the scenes, he hasn't been on the air much because he is one incredibly busy dude, mostly because he's constantly writing more books on Queensryche. And the other bit of business I just wanted to mention as well is that this year is, or I should say next year, right, 2024, Girl School is slated to do, I think, their final U.S. tour. And there's only a few dates they're doing, but they're doing it with Lillian Axe and with Alcatraz, and it's mostly small clubs and theaters. So that's something you may want to check out. They are actually appearing at the Paradise in Boston, which is the first place I saw them back in 81, 82, the Lock Up Your Sons tour that they did. And so they're back there again at the Paradise, which I don't know if they deliberately did that or not, but that tour kicks off March 21st in Houston and goes all the way through until April 6th in Detroit. So again, not a ton of dates, but you can go Google that up, check it out. I think Blabbermouth might have a little thing on there as well, but definitely go out and support them as well. They're a legendary band. I mean, if they were good enough for Lemmy, God damn it, they have to be good enough for you. But also great support acts as well with Alcatraz out there, new album that was out earlier this year, great album. And then Lillian Axe, who is just doing all kinds of dates, putting stuff out left and right, being incredibly active. It's almost like they're just like exploding again, which is very cool. So again, go check that out. See Girl School. I mean, you hardly ever get to see that band here in the U.S., but then also you get to see former Focus on Metal guest Joe Stump along with his band Alcatraz out there. And guy I am constantly going back and forth with, likes to give me shit about not getting an album before he gets the album. Wayne Stokely on drums for Lillian Axe, another great band to go out there and see. So there you go. A little bit of business right up front. Once again, head to nwmetalworksmusic.com. Pre-order my buddy Brian Heaton's book on the touring history of Queensryche and go out there and snag some of those tickets to go see Girl School, Alcatraz, and Lillian Axe out there for an incredibly short tour in the spring of next year, but well worth your metal dollar. And speaking of well worth your metal dollar, let's get into this week's episode. And why is it well worth your metal dollar? Because it's fucking free. So it's got to be worth it, right? But beyond that, this week, very interesting episode. I honestly, and I might even say it in the segment as well, I honestly never thought this would ever happen again. But it did. It's very cool. And that is that this week, I am welcoming back one of the Focus on Metal co-founders, my buddy, former bandmate as well, Jay Dumont. Jay's actually at a point in his life where he's able to, maybe hop back in and do a little bit more with Focus on Metal. So, took a few weeks back and forth to get everything, scheduled in and all that good shit. But, so this week, the reappearance of Jay, and when I said, remember the number, this is episode 580, and if you take that and then you add in all of the unnumbered episodes we did during COVID, we're pushing probably 590, 595, might even be closer to 600 episodes. And Jay has not been on the airwaves with us since episode 98. So that is a long fucking time ago. And no, in case you're asking, I'm going to state the unsaid, which is that Richie's not going anywhere. Richie still is my co-host for the show. It's just I have an opportunity to bring somebody else back this week and maybe come back every so often in the future as well, bolster things up. This may be an opportunity to get back to a more weekly schedule. And, part of that kind of weekly-ish schedule now has been the fact that Richie's got a lot going on. I've got a lot going on. And it just isn't conducive to that weekly schedule we were doing before. But, even in the band, Jay had a habit of being able to kind of push me to do shit. And, he might be doing that again. So, I have a good feeling you're probably going to hear from Jay some more in the future. But, I was, like I said, I teased it a few weeks back that you'd be hearing from somebody you haven't heard in a long time. And that's who it is. It's Jay. I mean, hell, who knows? Maybe 2 months from now, I'll get Dario back on. It'll be like the whole friggin' gang's back. But anyways, this week, happy to have Jay back. Haven't talked to him. Actually, literally have not talked to him in probably over a decade. So even this whole thing is crazy. And we thought that, here it is. It's the holiday season. Let's not do something so intense for a discussion. So this is kind of more of the old school, kind of what we used to do back when we did Focus on Classic Metal in the early days of Focus on Metal, where we just pick a topic and we're just randomly shooting the shit. And in this case, we're both very ill prepared for it. But again, we thought, holiday season, let's just talk about metal Christmas songs, because why the fuck not? So no huge philosophical metalhead breakthroughs here. This is just two old metalheads just shooting the shit about just different metal Christmas songs off the top of our head and referring back to some stuff. And you will even experience, if you weren't here back in the old days in, 2010, 2011, you'll get to experience Jay and I going into rabbit holes, which is what we used to always do as well. It's kind of like, this was pretty cool. It was like riding a bike. We just got on the phone together, although usually Jay used to come to my house and we would just do it live together. It was a little weird doing it over the phone, but again, it was like riding a bike that we just fell right into conversation, and that old, metalhead bandmate rapport that we had frickin' ages ago. So with that, I'm going to shut the hell up and run my chat with Jay all about metal Christmas songs. All right. The unbelievable has happened here, listeners. You thought it would probably never happen. You haven't heard from this guy since, believe it or not, episode 98.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. So if we don't count all the special episodes between now and then, it's like 480 some odd episodes ago. You would have heard from one of the founders, Jay Dumont, back in the seat again this week, and happy to have him on board. I know I had kind of teased this a few weeks back that you might hear from somebody you haven't heard in a long time, and I didn't stipulate how long, but that's how long it is. But yeah, welcome back, dude.
Hey, thanks. You know what, though? After you just said that, I actually wonder how many listeners are going to hear this that actually remember me. So if you actually do remember me, send something to me or Scott. It'd be kind of funny to hear that you actually do remember, because as we just discussed prior to starting the show, it's been probably close to 10 years.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. Yeah, I actually, because of the whole website change and all of that, it took me a while to dig back the other night to kind of find out when your last show was. And yeah, it was episode 98.
What was that about again?
Oh, crap. I don't even remember at this point.
I can look through my files, too, because I have all those episodes, too, and I just don't have the memory of which one it was. Because as listeners may not know, sometimes you and I get together, we talk about a bunch of stuff, and sometimes that gets broken down to different segments, different episodes. So, last time we were together, we probably talked about 2 or 3 different things. Who knows? Maybe even more. So
right.
But nonetheless, episode 98, you said, is the one. So.
Yep, that's when it was. So yeah, it's and yeah, you're right. I think I had some audio that was kind of built up because when I look at the episodes, I was doing some with a lot of interviews, and then I was throwing in like a leftover scrap metal and a few other things, and then putting in some of your segments. So yeah, I think between the last time we actually were in the same room with each other versus when the last episode was, you're right. There would have been a delta there, but that's just that's how the shit was working back then.
Yep, definitely.
Cool. So, one of the reasons trying to get you on the line in December was you had an idea that initially I kind of blew off. And then afterwards, I then went and saw Trans-Siberian Orchestra and thought, wait a minute, I'm kind of being a little hypocritical that Jay talked about wanting to maybe do something with some metal Christmas songs, and I kind of dismissed the whole damn idea. Then I go watch a metal Christmas band. So then I thought more about it and thought, you know what? Good little episode to try to do during the holiday season, and why the fuck not? And so that's what we're doing this week. Is we're gonna just dive into some of the metal Christmas stuff.
Well, I don't know where to begin, because quite honestly, even though I threw it out there to you, I made a mixed metal CD back around 2009 or so. Back then we were doing a CD every year for families, just around Christmas time, is putting stuff together, all Christmas related. In 2009, it was a bunch of heavy metal stuff. And I kind of haven't listened to it much over the years because, it just wasn't traditional enough to listen to. But that being said, there's a million songs out there. And doing a little bit of research for this show, I couldn't believe what's come out since. And, and it's good. It's a good topic. I think we can probably go back and forth a bit. But being honest, I feel like I don't have a whole lot here. I have what I remember from days past and the few things that have crept in over the years. But let's just see where it goes.
Yeah, it was interesting because like I said, originally dismissed it and then thought about it some more. And the first one that I think usually comes to mind for most people that are metal fans is obviously TSO. Whether they know about the origination with Sabotage or whatever, that seems to be the one that's present every single year, and it's something you can go and see and all of that. So, and that was kind of the first one that would pop into my head. But then I forgot. I went back. I looked at the tracks on your 2009 album, and I had totally forgotten about the entire Ho Ho Hoey series, which is kind of embarrassing because Gary is. I'm in Lowell. Gary's right next door in Drake it.
He's right here.
Those were fantastic albums, and I think when I think about wanting to have like a metal Christmas song, I wanted to have some crunch, some bite, some of that kind of some heaviness maybe to it, and not just like a metal band or a metal performer just like rehashing a stylized version of a traditional song. And I think that Gary kind of added the hard rock and crunch and stuff with all those Ho Ho Hoey ones.
I think so as well. Matter of fact, that was one of the first other than Sabotage, going right into something else was heavier. Gary Hoey, I've had those 3 Ho 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 CDs for years and years at this point. And matter of fact, as you can see there, I use those tracks a lot between the heavier songs. So do a couple of heavier songs like Dawkins or AC/DC or something, and then throw a couple of Gary Hoey tracks in, and then heavier again, and a couple of Hoey tracks. I thought it broke up the CD rather well, but overall, Gary Hoey CDs stand up on their own. It's full albums.
Yeah, definitely do. And of course, I don't have mine to go back to because my ex-wife owns them now. But
oh no.
But it was good to be like, oh yeah, that's right, those ones. So yeah, I think that was one of the things that even having Christmas at the house that we had people over, you were going to hear those songs. It was like, screw it, it's my house, you're hearing this stuff. As opposed to, the Frosty the Snowman soundtrack or something like that. So yeah, I was glad you reminded me of those ones because that's definitely, I think, something that's, another one that's out there, a different element from like the TSO stuff.
Well, here's the funny thing. So anybody listening to this podcast, you mentioned a little earlier, if people don't know the TSO origins were from Sabotage. I can't believe anybody would bother with this podcast that wouldn't already know that information. But on the off chance that they don't, obviously they should go check out TSO's Dead Winter Dead, and then, not TSO, Sabotage Dead Winter Dead, exactly, right? And then go listen to TSO. It's identical music, and it's fantastic, and, it's pretty much, you can listen to one, listen to the other, I think. So, anyway, good listen, Sabotage, Dead Winter Dead. Christmas Eve Sarajevo was on that album. Yeah,
exactly. And it's funny, though, because, even just going into the show last week or the week, whatever it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago, right after Thanksgiving. And we're sitting there and there was a guy behind us and he was telling, I don't know if he was on a first date or whatever, but he had like everything freaking wrong about the band, the origin, all that. And my girlfriend just looked over at me and she could see it in my face and she's just like, don't do it. Don't do it.
You did, didn't you?
It was like, I know, I was like, I'm going to be good. But,
that must have been
although
hard.
She did say at some point, she's like, if he doesn't shut up when they actually come on, then go ahead. And he was talking, and you wouldn't believe, like, he was telling her, oh, yeah, this, I think they have like, I don't know, it's like 10 or 12 different TSO bands that travel around the country. They're all over the place. And like, it's like,
wait, 2. I thought it was 14.
It was like, holy shit.
I haven't followed them a bit. They're still like the East and the West, right?
The East and the West, like always. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just, and they've done, I think, a couple of off-season tours of Europe where they've done some other stuff as well. But it's the East and West all the time. And we're spoiled with the East because you have most of the guys from Sabotage. You still got Jeff Plate in there. You still have Chris Caffrey in there. For a while, you had John Oliver in there. You had a lot of the the Sabotage guys, which was great.
Hate to actually say it, but to some degree, it's like a tribute band to itself in some ways. There's only a couple original guys that did the music, and everybody else is just they keep cycling different people through.
And it's weird too because the last couple of years they've had Zach Stevens back.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, hey, rumor. I guess we're going to digress here a little bit, but rumor has it that Sabotage is going to release another album in the next upcoming year or so. So I don't know if you've been following that at all, but there's been some chatter about that.
Interesting. I'll have to hit up Mr. Oliva and see if he is involved or knows anything about it.
Well, I saw a quote on him somewhere. I forget what site it was. He said he had enough for 3 albums. I think he went on and said enough music for 3 albums. But you know how that goes. They can talk about what they have, and I'm sure they do have a ton. It's a matter of getting it recorded and getting it out there.
Yeah. I definitely. Every time I talk to John, the one thing he always brings around is he wants my Charvel. Because it's basically because he knows I've got one that looks just like Chris's, and he's like, and he wants that damn guitar.
I've seen the pictures of that guitar, and every time I see it, I think of your guitar. So
and so he knows I've got that, and he wants it. So, but it's interesting. So, I think on there too, the one I had totally spaced out on, and I love the song actually, is the AC/DC one, "Mistress for Christmas," which is like so AC/DC. And yet it's kind of just got the satirical thing about Christmas in it as well. But they don't deviate from their style or anything, and that's a great little like hard rock Christmas song too.
I think that's one of the first like metal Christmas songs I think I remember like really hearing that was kind of an offshoot of an act, AC/DC being an act, not just a band that does Christmas music or something else, and actually made their own lyrics, made a song out of it, a brand new song, nothing, no traditional song that they just rehashed, and I thought that was great. So that actually brings up a point. You have these bands out there that either do one of two things, either create their own music, create their own song, or rehash something that's already been done with their name on it, or if you've listened to the Twisted Sister album, you're laughing because you have take traditional lyrics and put it to their music, their actual literal straight out of Stay Hungry album music, and just retrofit the Christmas lyrics on top of it. So,
and Dee Snider's openly admitted that he stole "Come All Ye Faithful" to turn that into that song. So,
of course he has. It's funny. I listen to that album and I laugh. It's a good. It's funny to me. So,
but he did do one. He did put out. Speaking of Dee Snider, he did put out I can't call it an album. It's more. He did a Christmas single with Lizzie Hale last year for Record Store Day Black Friday. So they did one original song, Magic of Christmas Day. Dee wrote it, and it's got Brian Tishy on drums. Jeff Pilson plays almost everything that nobody else plays. And and it's basically there's one side is the whole song, and the other one's the instrumental version, and that's the whole deal.
Cool.
But he did put out a brand new original Christmas one last year.
Well, I haven't heard it. Obviously, as I've been digging a little bit, there's a whole bunch I haven't heard, and you just can't keep up. There's so much music.
Yeah.
And, like, for example, here's one that kind of threw me. I didn't realize that the band Boston did God Rest Ye Metal Gentlemen, they called it, back in 2013. And I can't believe it because I'm such a huge Boston fan. That one just slipped through the cracks, and I gave it a quick listen on YouTube. Actually, it was super good.
Was that must have had Michael Sweet involved in it at that point? I'm thinking.
Honestly, I don't know. I just literally found it like 10 minutes before you and I got on the phone here. So. Yeah. So I don't know much about it other than I saw it. I thought it was bullshit, and I looked it up really quick because you can't trust everything you see there, and I wanted to cross-reference it with a couple of sources, and I did, and lo and behold, matter of fact, if it came out when I think it did, it's just 10 years old, like a day or two ago. So, So that doesn't really matter, but it is 10 years old. So. I'm going to give it a listen after this episode and after we're done off the phone here, and I'll probably try to see if I can hunt it down and get it. But just because I was a huge Boston fan, and it's good to have those extra songs.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the ones that's kind of a elephant in the room is Halford 3.
Hey everybody, this is Rob Halford wishing you all a crazy heavy metal Christmas and an insane, wild, manic New Year.
Which is, was Rob Halford's Christmas album. So, I mean, the one thing was, why the hell did you call your Christmas album Halford 3? Like, anything but that would have been better. But that's one of the ones where, you've got a couple of stuff that's new from him, and then the rest of it is all him just doing traditional stuff, which is like, damn it. I would have liked to have more just all like heavy Halford stuff and do it that way. So, yeah.
So it's funny you mention that because that's one of the ones I recently discovered I didn't know existed. So I heard the song We Three Kings, and quite honestly, I thought it was pretty good. But I don't know the rest of it. So the rest of the album, that is. So I haven't got to hear the whole thing, but isolated that one particular track, I didn't mind it. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Rob does, like, he's still got a great voice, and he does good on all this stuff. For me, it was the whole idea of, why the hell did you call it Halford 3? It was like you could have done any, because then it would kind of lead to the progression of what you had done with things like Crucible and stuff. And so you throw that one in, and it's like, nope, it's just 100% Christmas stuff. It could have been like any other title but that. I don't know. It's just it's my nit to pick with that album.
Yeah, I don't know what goes on in artists' minds these days, especially the older ones that we've loved over the years, since the 80s. I don't know. They're just bored and try to put stuff together, or other people hit them up with projects, because, as you know, it doesn't take or cost much to go in a studio, and make music these days. I mean, you can make a studio at home, and I hate to say it, I know it's not cheap, but it's not like it was. You can sit around and noodle and do your thing and not cost you anything but your own time.
Yeah, and all the elements, to do it, they have vastly come down in price as well, just as far as interfaces and software and even the quality of it for the price is pretty damn incredible over the last 10 years.
I don't disagree. Last I saw, Cakewalk was a free download or something. Of course, the plugins cost money, the ones you don't really want. But the ability to have those track-by-track recordings, and you throw some money into it. Let's say you throw even a couple of grand into it. I mean, that's not terrible when you have a home studio, when it comes right down to it. So, yeah. But who knows? It could probably cost more. It depends what you're trying to get, but. Yeah. I'm saying anybody can have a home studio. I mean, let's put it this way. You and I grew up listening to literally bands putting a tape recorder in the room and hitting record while they made a demo, while they played as a band. So you and I come from that total shit quality, and we listen to those CDs, those tapes over and over and over again. So pretty much anything you can do at home these days is a gazillion times better quality-wise than what we grew up listening to.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it. When we were rehearsing in my basement, I mean, the number of times that, you could put a boombox on the other side of the basement and it had enough compression on it, we could be blazing away, and the microphone would actually do a pretty damn good job of capturing it, which was insane.
Well, I remember we would do some of that stuff, I don't remember, was that how even the song Welcome that we had, did that come along that way, or was that from a live performance? Okay, that was from that, all right. Yeah, I remember doing stuff like that, with you. Of course, we're going back in the 90s now, so that's, more than 2 years ago. So it's hard to remember.
But yeah, I would say check out that Halford one. I mean, again, it's a nit for me because, it's Halford 3 Winter Songs. We should have just called it Halford Winter Songs and then moved on. But yeah. Well,
I'm looking at the YouTube interface of it right now. So yeah, I'll save that and I'll take a look at it. And actually, right underneath it is I have to bring this one up. The Ramones. Merry Christmas, Don't Want to Fight Tonight. I realize it's not quite metal, but it's a harder rock, heavier edge song out there that I'm sure a lot of people know. So it's a good one.
Yeah, I want to say, didn't King Diamond did do one called like
Yes,
No Presents for Christmas or something.
Yep. He did. It actually didn't make the cut on that the CD I made in 2009 because it was just too much. I figured nobody in my family would even listen to that. At least the other songs had some hope. I had Spinal Tap on there, Christmas with the Devil, and overall I tried to pick songs on that CD that I made, that were heavy but not something that was over the top, vocally. And that one, the King Diamond one, No Presents for Christmas, was just a little much. But I love the song.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that he did one.
Yep. Yeah. Well, there's a metal album out there. I'm actually trying to find it. It's called We Wish You a Metal Christmas. And you probably heard of it. It came out around 2008, it looks like. And there's a whole bunch of different artists. Jeff Scott Soto's in there, Bruce Kulick, Bob Kulick, Joe Lynn Turner, Scott Ian, Chuck Billy. Right down the line. You have to go look it up on, wherever, Wikipedia or something. And it's pretty much just, throwing musicians in the studio and doing a lot of the traditional songs just with these guys. A whole bunch. Tommy Shaw's in there.
So is this one of those, those compilation things that
Yep.
Bob Kulick used to do? He would, get a band and bring people in? No?
Well, I'm not sure if he's the main guy in this because as I'm looking at every there's 12 tracks and then 4 bonus. So I'm not sure, Yeah, actually, producer was Bob Kulick. You're right. So Bob Kulick and Brett Chasen.
Okay.
Chasen. So it looks like just brought in a bunch of musicians, and some did some tracks, some did other tracks, and away you go. And those are kind of cool too. They did something like that. I remember for Ace Frehley at one point, a lot of Ace Frehley songs. I forget what it was called. It was a compilation CD. A bunch of artists got together and did song after song.
Right.
I have to go look it up later, but
yeah.
At any rate, yeah. So that's out there too, and I remember listening to it at one point years back, and it was okay. I liked it.
So you say it was it Bob and was it Greg Chason was doing it?
Brett.
Oh, Brett. Okay.
Brett Chasen, yeah.
Right.
So it's called We Wish You a Metal Christmas, and it's for 2008. It looks like it was released.
All right. Oh, maybe I have that one kicking around. I don't know. Was Lemmy on there too? Lemmy seems to pop up on the Bob Kulick stuff.
Yeah, Lemmy's on there. He's on the Run Rudolph track.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Okay. That's the one. Yep.
He could be on more too, but I definitely see he's on that one. So
yeah, there's video out there of Lemmy doing that one, and it's classic Lemmy.
Mm-hmm. Geoff Tate's on one of them. Tim Ripper Owens is on there. Chuck Billy, Stephen Piercy. It's just one after the other from back in the day, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think those ones are pretty cool. Bob used to do a good job of getting people and pushing them a little bit and coming out with stuff. So that's good for him. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, when you initially brought it up, I was just thinking, it's like freaking metal Christmas songs. It's because the first thing you have is this visceral response of like Christmas is just not metal. It's just very unmetal.
Actually, you are right. I think traditionally Christmas is a little softer. It's a time to reflect and, whatever music interests you have. And we all have the traditional stuff that we grew up with, however old you are, but the stuff right from the 40s, 50s, and 60s that are just ingrained in our minds forever, and 70s for that matter, and a lot of newer songs are out there too. But you're right, the heavy metal stuff really never made the airwaves.
Yeah.
Heavy metal never made the airwaves really anyway, so it's a whole different arena of, for people to look at. But, the ones I have right here, and I'm going to just read them off, and, maybe pick one that you want to talk about. So I have Steve Morse, Joy to the World. I have Dokken, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I have a story about that one, by the way.
All right, well, we'll get back to that one then.
Yeah, of course, you're a huge Dokken fan. So here's one, Billy Idol yelling at the Christmas tree. And one, I don't even know this band. It's It Dies Today is the name of the band. And they did Feliz Navidad. And let me tell you, it's probably one of my favorite versions of that song. And I love that song, and I love many versions of it. But it was just funny because it was so fast, and it was funny. I have a Ted Nugent, Deck the Halls, Twisted Sister, Come All Ye Faithful. Alice Cooper, Santa Claus, CLAWS, is Coming to Town. Spinal Tap, Christmas with the Devil. The Grease, Merry Jingle. Twisted Sister, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, and a whole bunch of Gary Hoey ones. And those are the ones I have on that Christmas CD that stand out. Of course, doing even more, as you mentioned, King Diamond, No Presents for Christmas. I mean, just right down the line is all new stuff that I'm don't even have or not familiar with or whatever. But that Dawkins one, my son recently watched, The Dream Warriors, Halloween. So that was Nightmare Before, no, sorry, I'm sorry. Elm Street.
Yep.
The Dream Warriors, right?
Yep.
So that was the third one, correct, right? So Drake's my son. He knows the song Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Dawkins. He knows that song. He didn't know the Dream Warriors song. So he's watching the movie, and all of a sudden Dream Warriors comes on at the end of the movie. And he's like, I know that song. And he actually sent me a text out of nowhere and said, did Dawkins do a song? I was like, yeah, it's exactly the song. He copied the music and just kind of, twisted a little bit. So, but he made the connection just from the guitar sound and just knowing that about the Christmas song. He made the connection, recently. So he's in his 20s, but.
That's a good catch, though. That's
Drake's very big into music. He likes stuff from the 1900s right to today. I raised a kid that, his ears are on everything. So
yeah. I did have to laugh because I was looking at the compilation, and then below it, I think the last comment on the page was from Drake. It said something like "last one ever" or something like that. I had to look at it and laughed.
Yeah, but actually, all right. So people that don't know this, we made 12 CDs. We used to go away every year to Pennsylvania. We'd come home and we just kind of be reflecting on the mood, and we'd kind of make a CD every year. And every year we put we got a picture of Santa Claus in Pennsylvania. There's one particular place. So every year we put him on the cover with my son, and made a CD for the family. First year was traditional Christmas. Second year was New Age, and right down the line there was a theme for everyone. So 2009 was heavy metal. But every year, as he got older, he would say, "This is it. I'm not doing it again." Whatever. So you're referring to the actual website. You're actually
yes,
yeah. Actually right. So I have a website with the 12 CDs that were made, and some information about each of the CDs. And because my son was young, it was hard to understand what he was saying on some of the songs early on, because the first track and the last track, he said something, to start the CD and end the CD. So when I put the text in the website, which is what Scott read. But yes, we did it in 2009, Scott, but the very last one was 2011. And actually, I made one in 2018, but it was kind of unrelated to to him growing up. So there was one that's not documented. But anyway, so that was that little digression there. But
yeah. It's funny. I was thinking tonight too, as was turning everything on and getting the studio fired up, and I was just thinking, again, what I said, metal Christmas, it doesn't go together. I'm thinking, you wouldn't see frickin' Venom making a Christmas song, even though they were fake Satanists, but still, it's like you wouldn't do it. It's like, it's not metal. And then it comes to mind, didn't Merciful Fate do one? Or didn't King Diamond do one?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but I know Guar did one also back in around 2010. I'm trying to remember the name of the song. It was on, what the hell was the album? The Something Pit album back in 2010. It was towards the end of the album. Oh, yeah, there it is. It was Stripper Christmas Summer Weekend. It was back in 2010. Yeah, it's just you listen to the album and all of a sudden, boom, there's this weird thing that's Christmas related, but not really, but it's Guar. So there's another funny one.
Freaking Guar.
Yeah. Oh, here's one. You're going to love this one. So I came across, of all things, Christopher Lee doing Little Drummer Boy. So, you know he is, right?
Yeah.
Guy's like 1 million years old, but...
Yeah, he did two metal... Is it on one of his 2 metal albums?
Well, I just came across it, so I don't know too much about it. But
as far as I know, he put out 2 complete metal albums, and I've actually been trying to get them on vinyl, just because it's just so odd that I wanted them.
Yeah, that is about as odd as you can get. At first when I was looking at it, I thought maybe it was just a fan that, fans can kind of rip stuff and do it and kind of splice it all together. And I thought that's what it was, but it doesn't seem to be the case. But even if it's true, even if that's how it turned out, it was still pretty good.
Yeah, it was just weird that that those came out, and they've been on my what was one that he had? Yeah, he had the Heavy Metal Christmas was one of them.
Well, that's what I'm looking at actually right now, and the other one looks like it's called the Heavy Metal Christmas 2, TOO.
Yeah, so he's got classic Christopher Lee on the first one. He's got Jingle Hell is one of the songs on there. Darkest Carols, and so he's got a couple of them. Yeah, it's weird.
I would have never thought he had a sense of humor like that. But not because of anything. I just don't know him. You know what I mean? So just when you see him in the movies, I don't really follow him as an actor or as a person or anything. I just see him, and I know he has that fantastic deep voice. So it's just funny.
Yeah. It's bizarre, but.
Focus.
Yeah. Again, I was I was kind of kicking myself at first, kind of tossing this off because, it's something good to shoot the shit about. And it's the season to do it, so why the hell not?
Shooting the shit about it is one thing, and we could dig and dig and dig, and I could have come up with a list of probably a couple hundred. For example, so it looks like Thin Lizzy and Sex Pistols did one but they put themselves as the Greedies, and this was on a. It was like a punk CD, if I remember correctly. I have a mixed punk CD. So that was pretty good, too. It's called the Merry Jingle song. So you being a Thin Lizzy fan, and me too, for that matter, might be worth giving it a listen.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that whole deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, then there's the and I know they re-released it last year for, I think, on regular Record Store Day. I was able to I think I snagged the only copy they had in Newbury Comics, but it was the Motorhead Christmas deal with the they're all in the Santa costumes on the cover. I
don't know it, but yeah, if you grabbed it, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it's basically a single, so it's got it's Ace of Spades. But it's the special limited edition Christmas edition. Yeah, and they're all on the cover of that. So it's got Ace of Spades, and I know I'd have to dig it out from my albums, but I think it's got Run Run Rudolph on the other side of it. But yeah, and I was psyched that they released it, and I was even more psyched that I think that up in Pheasant Lane, I think they only had the one copy, and I snagged the damn thing.
So there was another series, two CDs, as I'm looking at my list of music I have. It's called Merry Xmas.
That's right, there was.
And Merry Xmas 2. So I got both of those sitting right here. Just to run down quickly, the guitarist, it's Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Eric Johnson, Jeff Beck, Brian Setzer Orchestra, Joe Satriani, Steve Moore, Steve Vai, Joe Perry, Alex Lifeson, Richie Sambora, and Hote, if I say his name, not sure. That was all on Merry Xmas.
Yeah, I totally forgot about those. Those are another one that the ex-wife now owns.
Right. I'll have to rip you copies. Well, actually, I already have them all ripped. I'll just have to get you the MP3s, but you don't have them already. But so Merry Xmas Volume 2 is Steve Lukather, Neil Sean, Steve Stevens, Stu Ham, Trevor Rabin, Zach Wilde, John Sykes, Robin Trower, Al Di Meola, and Ted Nugent. So
yeah, and those are fairly old too, right? Aren't they like late 90s, early 2000s, maybe?
Yeah. 97, 98. And again, my life was focused on certain things at certain times, so I haven't focused on that kind of music for a long time. So for all I know, it could be Merry Xmas 3, 4, and 5 sitting out there, but those are the first two anyway.
Yeah, there was a certain period of time when they were, there was kind of a lot of respect in the publications for a lot of those guys and stuff. And so, that took advantage of that whole time period. So, those were actually really good releases. I've totally freaking forgot about those.
And here's a funny one, straight from a video game. So I think it was Call of Duty, the zombie maps, whatever, all those characters.
Mm-hmm.
They actually, back in 2010, made a very zombie Christmas, which looks like 8 tracks, and it's the contributing artist is Kings of Carnage, and it's the voice actors that were in the game. And I got to be honest, I give it a spin every year.
Mm.
I actually really like it. So, it's kind of heavy. Some stuff is heavy, and some stuff is just their vocals, them being the characters in the game. But for those out there that like that particular game, which I'm sure a lot of people did, that don't know about that, it's called A Very Zombie Christmas, came out in 2010.
And, and I was thinking about it, and I actually told somebody this story the other day, too, but we used to be guilty of it live. Remember, every so often we'd throw in the friggin' Peanuts Christmas theme?
I didn't. When I was in the band, we didn't do that.
I thought we did it when you were in, too, because it was during the Rick era, because we needed to have him, because he could do that bass part really well.
Oh, my God. I forget. Yes, we did. Holy shit.
Because I was telling somebody, it came on somewhere, and they were like, I think it might have been my girlfriend's sister, and she was like, oh, I really like this. And I was like, we used to just throw this in randomly in the middle of gigs, and people would be like, holy crap.
I totally forgot we did that. It was actually funny. I really wish, I wish that we were out in a time where recording was like it is now. I mean, you can record off the board. You can do so much more now than, even just videoing. You can video and get decent sound, whatever. So, I kind of wish we still had that, but we don't.
Yeah, no, it was pretty.
I wish we had that for us. But we didn't. You know what I mean? So that's a bummer. We don't have a lot of footage of us playing and doing that stuff.
No, not much live recording. Because at that point too, most people for video stuff, it was cameras that were half decent were pretty pricey. So we were lucky when we occasionally had somebody that was there and had one. So yeah, very limited footage. So it kind of sucks.
Well, it's actually, I came across my memories today on Facebook. I think it was 11 years ago today. I made a video of 2 shots, our video, our band. All it was just me playing the MP3, which is pictures of the band, over it. Nothing special, but it was just kind of funny. It shows up in my timeline every now and then, so it's kind of funny.
Wow. Yeah, that's actually, I think one of the times I ran through Ain't Got the Money, played it for my girlfriend, and I think that was one of the songs she actually liked the most was 2 Shots. I was like, really? She's like, yeah, this one's kind of got a little hook to it and all that. I was like, oh, yeah, it's got a little bit of everything in there, a little metal, a little southern. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Well, I was actually, every now and then I give our album that we did a spin, and I just wish it was, I wish I could beef it up a little more. It's just, I think the copy I have just isn't that great, the MP3s, but... it was pretty good. I just kind of wish we could go in and do it again,
Well, I do still have the DAT that we did, too.
Oh, man.
So,
honestly, I haven't touched my guitar in forever, but that would give me a good reason to get back into it. As a matter of fact, I've been threatening to do something with the home studio and getting back into it, now that I have lots of free time in my hands. My son's out of the house, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. He's been gone for a bit, but, back to work, doing software engineering again, and, things are kind of settling in again, so looking towards fun projects.
All right, there you go, Focus and Metal listeners. You never know. It could be the Jay and Scott Metal Express once again.
Case in point, here we are, right? So, case in point, here we are. I'm refocusing on things that were important to me at one point in my life, and the show, really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that, I can contribute again, and hopefully it can be an ongoing thing. But
yeah.
I got to be honest, this particular episode with the Christmas metal songs, probably, I can't say the least prepared I can be, but it's a scattershot. I mean, there's so much we can talk about,
Yeah, well, but you know what? This is, and I bring this up with a lot of the episodes where we just kind of have like random discussion, and it's old school Focus on Metal, right? And it's the way that you and I used to do it with when we were doing, Focus on Classic Metal, and we'd have subjects and we'd ramble and we'd go down rabbit holes, and it was, there was less interviews and more of this, and we're going back to more discussions as well. I mean, the episode that came out over the weekend was all discussion and just a whole bunch of random. I think I called it like Mega Metal Grab Bag 2. So it was just like one topic after another. We just did. So,
I'm going to actually really backfill this whole thing and say my favorite episode I think we ever did was the Big Four undercard. Remember we did the other four, and we had a discussion of who, if it wasn't for the Big Four, what were the next four, and I'm not going to get into it.
Did that split into I thought we did, and that hadn't ended up being so long. We split it into 2 episodes. I thought. I
think we might have, because it was quite the discussion.
Yeah.
Obviously bands of the era were thrown in, like Exodus and Testament and Metal Church, Overkill. They were in the mix for the conversation as well for the Big Four, and we decided to split it East and West Four, and 4 from each, and yeah, it was a good one. But that was I think my favorite episode that we did.
So I went back in the vaults because that one is not on our RSS feed. It's currently not on focusonmetalpod.com. But that was actually episode 71, the Big Four undercard. So one of the things I'm going to try to do, since Jay brought that one up, is resurrect that, put that back on our RSS feed, and make it available on the website so you can hear that whole entire conversation. Because, yeah, that actually was a pretty damn good episode. And I want to say we may have done that one right around the time that there was the whole Big Four and Sophia and all of that. I could be wrong, but I think it's around that same time. But again, I did find the audio after talking to Jay. I have all the write-up stuff. At that point in time, in those episodes, I wasn't doing the artwork and stuff, but I will make an effort to get it on the RSS feed and also available at focusonmetalpod.com. Yeah, that was actually a good one. Definitely was. It kind of goes back to some of the roots of shit as well. So it's and we could probably do more of those in the future as well, for especially if anyone is still around from way the hell back in 2011, 2012 when
the years just kind of roll on and roll on and roll on here, and I think I was becoming more aware of it recently. I'm looking, back at some of the music I like and realizing it's pushing 50 years, 40-something years or whatever, and just how old I'm getting, and not that I feel old or anything, but it is what it is. The number's a number, and watching all my favorite artists in their 70s and late 60s, and that's not very fun to see that and watch them stumbling around. Of course, bands retiring, and
well, pretending to retire, one of the two.
Even Kiss, like, reinventing themselves every other day and saying they're retiring, but there's always something going on like that. And unfortunately for me, there's nothing really new and youthful coming out that I'm latching onto, and it's not that it's not there. I'm sure there's plenty of fantastic music. It's just I have literally thousands of records, and albums and stuff that I love from the 80s and 90s and 70s. So, that alone, there's only so many hours in a day,
Yep. Oh, no, I definitely, I actually went back earlier this year. I decided, I need to actually know what the fuck I actually have. So I did the Discogs account, and I painstakingly cataloged every CD, every video, all the vinyls, and to actually know, what I have, even to what version, what pressing, everything, so that I actually know what the hell I have here. Because, there's so much that in some cases, Richie would come over to do a discussion. I'd hand him a CD, and he'd be like, "What's this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I already have it. I didn't even remember, and I bought it again." So I was like, I gotta stop doing this.
You were getting a lot of pre-releases, back last time you and I were doing the show. I go over your house and you have a stack of 10, 12 CDs that weren't even out yet.
Yeah, they don't even. So now we get that kind of filtered down a little bit after you left to almost exclusively distributing on just MP3 files. But now, in the last couple of years, what they've done is with the pre-release, you don't even get to download it and listen to it. You can only stream it, and then usually like a week after it gets released, then they'll make it available so you could download it if you want to listen further and do more review. But it used to be nice that even with the download, I could download it, burn it, listen to it in the car, and kind of get a little bit of a focus on it. But it's kind of a different experience if you're just sitting in front of a computer, just listening to something stream, and the quality isn't the greatest, and it's like this is just not a very conducive to being, acceptance of what you're hearing with a streaming like that. So it's kind of made it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, most of it now is definitely not getting promo copies. It's been a while since I've actually got a promo CD. Either that or they're still going to the house and the ex-wife's just throwing them away. Yeah, could be that too.
So, you actually brought up a couple of things there. One of them is, one of them could be a whole episode of how the music industry is now, a free-for-all. Because record companies they're not the only means of getting stuff out there, obviously. Mm-hmm. That could be we could talk, as a matter of fact, I love to talk about that and how it's diluting the music and also bringing in good things that you wouldn't get because they wouldn't be, signed artists. But, that's one thing. The other thing is you and I come from an age and an era where we like to hear things in the car. We like it a certain format, a certain media type. And people my son and I talk about this all the time. He, by the way, he loves albums. He's kind of an old soul this way. He still likes the albums and likes touching media, but he's also of the youth where going, just getting stuff off of Spotify and things like that, setting up playlists and not really listening to an album for the sake of an album, the first side, second side kind of thing. So, you and I are showing our age in a way where we prefer to be in the vehicle with the music blasting, however we'd like to listen to it, or the headphones on, with the media. We need to have the media and not sit at a computer and stare at a screen. Yeah. That doesn't work for me either. It's not listening to music to me. That's not even, that's not my preferred method.
Yeah. I think we can, why don't we slate that in, because I think that's definitely a pretty good discussion on all of that. And it's definitely something that's I'm passionate about. And again, I know from my kids kind of how they consume it, and I know how, like my girlfriend's daughter consumes it, or how my girlfriend consumes it, or, versus how we consume it. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely something we should slate in as a absolute must-have discussion.
No problem. I'll do it.
Awesome. So for this one, do you think we got anything else to discuss with Christmas songs?
Well, I guess not really. I guess what I could ask is kind of another rabbit hole, but you saw Trans-Siberian, and, originally when they first started coming around or whatever, I don't think they had the whole narration piece in it. And then when I went to see them, they had the first half of the concert had narration and song, and then, of course, the second part of the concert, the second half was just music. Yeah. So what I felt was when I saw them live, this was going back about 6 years ago, I think, maybe 7, I was not engaged at all in the first act because you had someone talking between every song, and then they play the song, and then of course the second set you get mesmerized by the light show and everyone running around and the big stage and everything else. I like that a lot better. But that all being said, Christmas Eve and Other Stories in the Christmas Attic way back actually had, if you could find it, the CDs that had the narration also. So it was the narration, the song, narration, song. It's probably more common now, but I got those way back in the day too. So for those people that are out there that like the narratives also, let me see, I think it was 96, the narrative version also came out for Christmas Eve and Other Stories. So, and the Christmas Attic has a narrative too, and I'm pretty sure the Lost Christmas Eve also does. But I definitely have the first two. Yeah, I mean, it is a good show. I know when I first started taking my kids, it had, at that point, probably one of my favorite formats, which was that they would do the whole Christmas story narration part, and you would see families there with grandparents, and I always remember seeing these little girls in their red velvet Christmas dresses and all that, and of course my girls were like, "What the hell is that, Dad?" But then you would see that they do the intermission. Caffrey would come out and say, "Hey, we're just taking a few minutes, whatever," and all those families would just get up and leave.
and then come back, and then they'd come back in, and they were doing kind of more of a free for all. They were doing hard rock songs. They would throw some Christmas stuff in. I love that format because it was kind of an anything goes second half. And I didn't think that any of their presentations would beat that. But then I didn't go for a couple of years. And then a couple of years ago, Nikki and I went, and she was like, oh, this is pretty good. And we skipped, I think, a year or two. And then we went last year, and she was like, holy shit. And I think, we were pretty much like just like right up front, like basically front row. And just the amount of stuff they had added to the show, and the fact that the whole thing blasted all the way through. So you had had a little bit of the narration part again, but then mostly they were just going song after song after song. And then you think, well, they can't up it. We went this year, and it was even more like intense. So we brought her daughter. We brought one of her daughter's friends, who's actually another like old soul. Like she came over. She's looking through my albums, and she's pulling out Kiss albums, and like her favorite Kiss song is She. So it's like she's like, oh wow, I love this song, and she's pulling stuff out. So she was sitting there, and I would just look over, and as something would happen, you'd see her eyes go like, holy shit. And, seeing like all the pyro and all of that stuff. And so to have somebody that's, 14 years old and see them get absolutely blown away by the show they're seeing was like, all right, this is, they're doing the right thing. So it was just insane. Again, last year we were on Joel's side up front. This year we're on Chris's side right up front. So they, able to get like pretty much up close views as well, but then they were really close for everything that was hanging overhead and everything. So I mean, it is a great show. I think a lot of people do make that part of their regular like holiday experience now too.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that go see them every year when they come around, and getting tickets is pretty hard. When I saw them, I literally had on the side of the stage nosebleed seats, and it was nice to see down and see the whole stage, but it was also it wasn't front and center. Like when I go see bands, oftentimes I photograph bands, so I'm with, granted they're all local kind of tribute acts or whatever, but still I'm with these bands, and you're front and center or with them or behind backstage or whatever, and it's really cool getting that aspect of the performance, and being up in nosebleeds for these national acts, I don't know, it doesn't work for me.
Well, they're one thing what I'll say with them that's good, I'll commend them on, is that they do pre-sales for, the fan club, but they do it in a way where you're allowed to register for the shows that you want to get a pre-sale ticket for. And then they basically, it's like putting your name in a hat. And then then you get a letter and go, yep, you were picked to be able to get in the pre-sale for that show. And so I've actually been lucky that every year, where I usually I'll do I'll register for both the Manchester shows and both the Worcester shows, with the intention is I really want to go to the Worcester show. And I've been able to get them, every year, which has been great, and gotten really good seats as well. So, and they're the only ones I know of that will kind of basically do that, do the pre-register, you're going to get another notification that says, yep, you're good to go. Here's your code, and all of that. And yeah, I've never seen anyone else do that. The other thing too is that they've always kept their ticket prices pretty decent, and they still consistently do that tour program, $10. So everybody could go home with a tour program kind of thing too, which is also commendable, that they can do all that and still pour so much frickin' money into the show every year. It's pretty amazing.
I think that's kind of a lost art, is being able to take something home from the show that's affordable. Let's be real, you bring something home, I go visit you, and you have the tour program sitting there on the countertop, and I pick it up and see it. I'm going to go want to see the band, so it's actually good promotion for them to let us buy their merchandise. We're actually the ones advertising by having it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It comes right down to it. When I have a TSO T-shirt and I'm walking around town with a TSO T-shirt, I'm advertising for the band. It shouldn't cost me $75 to get a T-shirt to advertise for them. So it is good if you can get merch that's reasonable.
Yeah, well, the suck part now is that a lot of bands, it isn't that they want to charge so much. It's that, they're making almost all their revenue from touring and merch. Mm-hmm. But then the deals they have, especially the people that get stuck with a 360 deal, that they have to give part of their merch money back to the labels. And I know a while back, actually, there was venues that were trying to actually get a cut of merch money, which is total bullshit. But that's, so now they end up jacking up the price of a T-shirt because now they're having to give a piece of that pie to people too. And so, and in essence, everybody loses.
Yeah, that's the way it works around here, I have the club casino here in Hampton, New Hampshire, and some tickets are reasonable, some are not, mm-hmm. and God forbid you want a beer. You might as well hit the loan station while you're in there. $14 a friggin' crappy Bud Light or something, it's ridiculous. So,
yep.
It's the way it is these days.
Yes, the casino.
Hey, as a matter of fact, Gary Hoey just played there, I think early November sometime. 6th or 7th,
I think he did.
Or 10th maybe or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was right here.
All right. Well, what do you say? It's been fucking great talking to you again and getting you back on the show. But why don't we wrap this one up?
All righty. Well, hey, nice to be back, and hope the listeners appreciate having me back, and I appreciate the fact that I am back for them. And let's see what happens here.
Awesome. All right, dude. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah. Hey, bye.
And there you go. My chat with Jay Dumont, all about metal Christmas music, which is kind of the most unmetal thing at this point I think I could talk about. But, no, I could talk about Taylor Swift or some other bullshit. But anyways, had a blast doing that with Jay. I'm sure you're going to hear from him again in the future. And I know he's eager to want to do some other stuff, and he's already been hitting me up since we recorded that audio with some ideas of things he wants as well. So, yeah, I think you'll probably hear from Jay again. And, hey, nothing but good shit, right? And again, head up to nwmetalworksmusic.com and pre-order the brand new Touring History of Queensryche book from Brian. You can also order his prior one, Building an Empire, also a great book. Lots of pictures in there of some great Queensryche memorabilia. And also up there, the aforementioned Metal Church book. And I should mention, too, just browse around there because they do sell a lot of albums and stuff as well. And it might even be some releases that you can't find anywhere else that are up there. So again, nwmetalworksmusic.com. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll try to remember to put that up on the show notes with a clickable link at focusonmetalpod.com. And also make sure go out there and try to get your tickets for the Girls School, Alcatraz, and the Lillian Axe tour. It's a short one. I think it's maybe only 11 or 12 dates, but check it out. And, if you've never seen Girls School before, you got to check it out. They put on a great show. I remember them putting that on back in 81, 82. I can't remember exactly. I think it was 81. And I even have a bootleg of that show somewhere, unless my ex-wife has it. Who knows? And before I get out of here, just a reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at Focus on Metal. Obviously, Richie's got the ever-growing Facebook population out there. A lot of people, he's doing an incredible job with that. So you can hit him up on there as well, which is all good stuff. And, if you've got ideas or whatever, you got shit you like, you got shit you don't like, you can always hit us up at shout@focusonmetal.net. And as I mentioned a couple times in the show, we do have a website. We've had it for years. As a matter of fact, the original website was actually designed by Jay. And this new one I did, probably not as good as the one he did, but that you can find us either at focusonmetal.net. It'll redirect you over, or you can go right there at focusonmetalpod.com. See all of the episodes we've had over the last couple years. The Little Mountain Project, the Strange Highways Project, the Kerrang Project, all that stuff is up there as well. And I am probably going to try to work on getting some of the other stuff there as well, although I may not grow the entire RSS feed back out. But It may be that as you look at some of these things that, you may say, hey, could I hear that episode? I'll go try to find it. I'll go try to post it up. And as, Jay had mentioned, he wants to try to maybe get back, helping with a little bit of the web stuff because that is what he does for a living. So maybe we may work out some kind of a thing with a database in the background to be searchable and see some of the stuff that isn't out there. And I got kind of an idea in my head after talking to him. But anyways, lots of places you can get a hold of us. Love to hear from you. But for this week, that's it. There ain't no more. Stick a fork in it. This puppy is done. So for Richie, myself, and everybody else here at Focus on Metal, have yourselves a great metal week. And until we talk to you again next time, as always, remember...
Focus on Metal! Everything else is insignificant.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.